Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hi, everyone.
May your day be full of light, and I really hope your week is incredibly blessed, productive, and, you know, unlike the ancient tribe of Judah we're examining today, completely free of giants and unconquered strongholds.
Yeah, that would definitely be ideal.
Right. So today, we are pulling our source material from the study notes of two really comprehensive resources, the Holman and the NAA Study Bibles. And we are focusing entirely on Joshua chapter 15.
Which is, quite a chapter.
It really is. I mean, if you just glance at this chapter in passing, it reads like this ancient, dusty map that got glued to an unpronounceable real estate ledger.
Yeah, it looks totally impenetrable to the modern reader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, okay, let's unpack this, because what looks like just a boring list is actually an epic story.
Right, there is so much hidden under the surface here.
We're talking mountain warfare, this brilliant administrative blueprint, and, well, a pretty shocking theological plot twist right at the end.
Yeah, that last sentence really changes everything.
It does. But let's start with segment 1, which is the grand map of Judah. The first 12 verses trace the borders of Judah's inheritance.
And it is massive.
Yeah, it's not some small plot of land. It stretches south to the border of Edom and the wilderness of Zin, and then east to the Salt Sea, which we know is the Dead Sea.
Right.
And then it goes north past the valley of Hinnom and Jerusalem, and west all the way to the Great Sea, the Mediterranean.
And, the Holman notes highlight something really interesting about the mechanics of the cartography here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's distinct from how we map territory today. The text actually charts this border by moving in a counterclockwise direction.
Oh, wow.
And it relies entirely on natural formations, so like valleys, boulders, dry riverbeds.
See, I'm trying to picture how that actually functions legally on the ground.
It's tough, right?
Because today, we have satellite imaging and precise GPS coordinates if there's a property dispute. But if your national border is literally just like that big rock or the dry riverbed, I mean, how do you enforce that when a flash flood physically moves the riverbed?
Yeah, it sounds chaotic.
It seems like a recipe for constant tribal warfare, to be honest.
Well, that touches on the fragility of ancient treaties,
Yeah.
right? But it also explains the method, because they didn't have modern surveying tools.
Obviously not.
So you're forced to rely on massive, immutable geographical anchors, which is why you see mountains and large bodies of water being so prominent in the text.
That makes sense. They aren't going to move.
Right. And this wasn't just a map you unrolled on a table. It functioned as an oral and visual treaty.
Boy, I see.
And that counterclockwise progression, it isn't arbitrary either. It actually acts as a mnemonic device.
Wait, really? Like a memory trick?
Exactly. By walking the border conceptually in a circle, starting from the harsh southern desert and sweeping around to the sea, the text is creating a memorizable perimeter.
For an oral culture.
Right, for a largely oral culture that couldn't just look up a map on their phones.
So the text is functioning as this legal document that entire communities can just memorize and pass down.
Precisely.
But, looking at the broader structure of the book, I have a question about the priority here.
Sure.
Why does the tribe of Judah get mapped out first?
Mm-hmm.
And with such overwhelming detail compared to the rest of the tribes?
That's a great question, and the NWLA notes argue that this is highly intentional framing by the author.
Okay.
Structurally, giving Judah this vast, granularly detailed territory, it sets the administrative standard for the rest of the conquest.
Like it establishes the template.
Exactly. But historically, it operates as a massive indicator of Judah's future prominence. The text is basically establishing the geographic epicenter for the rest of Israel's history.
Right. It's setting the board before the real game begins, preparing you, the reader, for the eventual rise of the monarchy, like King David, from this specific region.
Which is huge.
It is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a map is essentially useless without people actually claiming the space.
Right, you need boots on the ground.
Which brings us to the human cost. Because nesting right inside this macrogeography is a super intense micro-narrative about one family.
Yeah, verses 13 through 19.
Right, they are claiming a very specific, very dangerous piece of the pie.
We zoom in abruptly from these sweeping national borders down to the interpersonal dynamics of Caleb, his nephew Othniel, and Caleb's daughter, Oxa.
And Caleb is granted the region of Kiriath Arba, which is better known as Hebron.
Right.
But he doesn't just, walk into an empty, welcoming city.
Definitely not.
He demands the high ground. And it happens to be occupied by the three sons of Anak, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai.
And the broader biblical text establishes these Anakim as legendary giants.
Literal giants. I love this part. Yeah. But, like, what does a military campaign against entrenched, physically massive warriors in a mountain region actually look like?
It's brutal.
Especially for Caleb, who is, at an advanced age at this point.
Right. Tactically, it requires a grueling uphill siege because Hebron sits at a pretty significant elevation.
And fighting uphill against fortified positions is a logistical nightmare even today.
Let alone in ancient warfare. And then you add the psychological terror of the Anakim.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, these were the very people whose intimidating size terrified the previous generation of Israelites.
Right, they made them retreat back into the wilderness decades prior.
Exactly. So Caleb dislodging them, it isn't just a physical military victory, it's the exorcism of a national trauma.
Oh, wow. I love how you put that. He actively hunts down the boogeyman that kept his people wandering in the desert.
Yeah, he faces the giant head-on.
And then he uses that momentum to secure the surrounding region. He offers his daughter Aksa as a wife to whoever can conquer the neighboring city of Debir.
Also known as Kiryas Sefer.
Right, so Othniel steps up, wins the battle, and secures the marriage. But honestly, for me, Aksa is the one who completely steals the scene here.
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is her absolute pragmatism in the face of her father's grand conquests.
Yes, she is so bold.
Because she is allotted land in the Negeb, which is the arid south. And the text details her physically getting off her donkey, approaching her father, and just boldly demanding springs of water.
I call this the premium upgrade.
That's exactly what it is.
But in all seriousness, it's not just some spoiled kid asking for luxury. Because in an agrarian society, land without a reliable water source isn't an inheritance.
Yeah.
It's a death sentence.
It really is. And the study notes emphasize that this vignette grounds the sweeping theological narrative in gritty economic reality.
That is so true.
Because you can possess a divine promise and you can slay giants all day long, but if you do not have irrigation, your flocks die and your family starves.
Right. Water rights were the ultimate currency of the ancient Near East.
Exactly. So by demanding and receiving both the upper and the lower springs, Aksha basically secures total economic and agricultural independence for her family's estate.
She is brilliant. And the NAA notes also draw this incredible historical parallel here regarding the men in her life.
Yeah, the foreshadowing is amazing.
Caleb's capture of Hebron acts as a direct historical mirror to David's much later capture of Jerusalem.
Right, and Othniel's victory at Debir isn't just about wearing a wife.
No, it's bigger than that.
This is Othniel's proving ground. The text is demonstrating the specific military and leadership credentials that will later validate his authority.
As a judge, right.
Yeah, as the very first judge of Israel in the subsequent book of Judges.
It's just this dense concentration of future national leadership, all stemming from this one localized dispute over land and water.
It really highlights how interconnected the narratives are.
But Asa's demand for springs, it kind of highlights a much larger logistical nightmare for the nation.
How so?
Well, if one prominent family had to aggressively negotiate just to secure enough water to survive in the South, how in the world does a newly formed nation sustain the millions of people flooding into the rest of Judah's territory?
Ah, right. The logistics of the population boom.
Exactly. Yeah, but the text actually answers that logistical question immediately by zooming out from this one family and dropping an enormous, highly organized census on us.
Yeah, moving into verses 20 through 62.
The ancient real estate ledger.
It is an exhaustive ledger of cities. It categorizes over 100 towns by distinct geographical regions.
Like the Negeb in the south.
Right, and the Shephelah or lowlands, the hill country, and the wilderness.
So I'll speak directly to you, our listener, for a second. When you read through this section of the Bible, the temptation is incredibly strong to just let your eyes glaze over.
Oh, completely. It's just a wall of text.
It's dozens of names: Ziklag, Madmannah, Kiriath Hezron, just a massive list.
Hard to pronounce, hard to read.
Right. But if we actually pause and look at the function of this massive list, why dedicate so much expensive parchment to it?
Well, the Holman notes reveal the underlying administrative genius hidden in the Hebrew structure here.
Tell me more about that.
This territory is deliberately divided into 11 distinct districts, or 12 if you factor in the coastal Philistine plains.
So, highly organized.
Extremely. You have to realize the profound psychological and societal shift happening in these verses.
Because they used to be nomads.
Exactly. For generations, these people were nomadic. They lived in tents, they moved with the seasons, they survived as hunter-gatherers and herdsmen.
And now,
Suddenly, they're being handed an agrarian bureaucracy.
Wow. It's like the difference between managing a campsite in the woods and suddenly being appointed the mayor of a metropolitan city.
That is the perfect way to contextualize it. The infrastructure requirements are entirely different.
You can't just wing it anymore.
No, an 11-district system allows for systematic taxation, military conscription, and the formalized administration of justice.
Right, because you cannot govern a massive nation-state through tribal campfires and informal elders anymore.
You need regional capitals. You need trade route management, local magistrates.
It's real civilization building.
Exactly. This ledger proves they were establishing a sophisticated, settled government capable of managing a vast population.
So every single unpronounceable name on that list represents a shift from survival mode to a structured society.
Yeah.
And from a theological perspective, it's basically the ultimate receipt.
The receipt, I like that.
Yeah, because after generations of wandering and just hoping, this is the concrete proof that they received the land they were promised.
Right. The sheer volume of cities proves the staggering wealth and scale of Judah's inheritance compared to the other tribes.
It really is a monument constructed out of text.
That's a great way to put it. It memorializes the transition from a promise spoken to a promise realized. It effectively catalogs the nation's new infrastructure.
It's so triumphant. And up to this point, Joshua 15 reads like this flawless victory march.
It really does.
You've got perfectly drawn borders, giants being slain by an elderly hero, a masterclass in regional administration, and the fulfillment of ancient promises.
Everything is going great.
Everything is perfect. But just as you're ready to close the book on a triumphant note, the very last verse, verse 63, throws a massive wrench into the narrative machine.
It is arguably one of the most jarring transitions in the entire book.
It really is.
Because the verse bluntly states that the sons of Judah could not drive out the Jebusites living in Jerusalem.
They could not.
Right. Therefore, the Jebusites live there among the people of Judah, as the text notes, to this day.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to look at the mechanics of this failure.
Yeah.
The entire premise of the conquest narrative in Joshua is divine backing. Joshua was told in chapter 1 that no one would be able to stand against him.
That was the promise.
Right. So how does the most prominent, powerful, well-resourced tribe suddenly hit a brick wall at Jerusalem?
It's a striking contrast.
Is this purely a tactical failure? Like, were Jebusite fortifications just that advanced?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the NAA study note suggests it's not a failure of military engineering at all.
Okay, what is it then?
It's a profound theological crisis. The text is introducing intentional, shocking tension.
So it's on purpose.
Yes. It isn't that God's power short-circuited at the gates of Jerusalem, or that the tribe of Judah suddenly forgot how to conduct a siege.
Right.
The failure is evidence of what the notes call spiritual slippage.
Spiritual slippage. I want to dig into that concept.
Yeah.
How does a lack of spiritual focus translate directly into a military stalemate?
It comes down to resolve and wholeheartedness.
Okay.
Contrast the nation with Caleb from earlier in the chapter.
Right, the giant slayer.
Exactly. Caleb succeeded against entrenched giants because he followed the Lord wholeheartedly, meaning he didn't compromise when the battle became dangerous or exhausting.
He saw through to the end.
He did. But the failure at Jerusalem indicates that the tribe of Judah, as a collective, lost that fortitude.
Because siege warfare is hard.
It's brutal. It's costly. It stretches over months, sometimes years. At some point, the people of Judah looked at the formidable walls of Jerusalem, they weighed the cost in blood and treasure, and simply decided it was easier to compromise.
Wow. So they did the math and chose comfort over completion.
Basically, yes.
They essentially said, look, we have 11 great districts and over 100 cities. Let's just tolerate this one unconquered stronghold in the middle of our territory.
And the study notes emphasize that this single stubborn exception acts as a cancer in the biblical narrative.
A cancer. That's a strong word.
It is, but it's accurate. By allowing the Jebusites to remain unconquered, Judah permits foreign religious practices and cultural norms to take root right in the heart of their inheritance.
Oh, I see.
And this exact compromise sets the stage for the chaotic, violent, downward spiral we see in the subsequent book of Judges.
It's fascinating how the text refuses to sanitize the history.
It lays it all out there.
It deliberately puts Caleb's total victory right next to Judah's collective compromise.
Yeah, the contrast is entirely on purpose.
And there's such a powerful takeaway for you as you listen to this analysis today. Think about how we operate in our own lives.
Oh, it's very relatable.
It is. We love to look at the ledger of our own achievements. We look at our careers, our families, our daily habits, and we check the boxes.
We tally the wins.
Right? We say, look at these 11 flourishing districts of my life. Look at how organized my territory is.
We celebrate the administration while willfully ignoring the Jebusites in our own Jerusalem.
Exactly. We all have these unconquered issues, a toxic habit, a compromise in our integrity, maybe a lingering resentment we won't let go of.
Right.
We fight the battles we know we can win easily, but when we face a fortified wall in our own character, we accept the spiritual slippage.
We convince ourselves it's just too hard to defeat.
So we just learn to comfortably live with it, as the text says, to this day.
This raises an essential question about human nature, really. Why are we so willing to fight giants on one mountain like Caleb did, but we accept defeat in our own backyard?
That's the million-dollar question.
By placing verse 63 right at the end of this glorious chapter, the author forces the reader to confront the reality that partial obedience is still, ultimately, disobedience.
That is a tough pill to swallow.
It is. And historically, just like ancient Judah, we assume that a small compromise won't affect the whole.
But it always does.
Always. That single unconquered city caused centuries of tension for Israel until King David finally managed to take it generations later.
Centuries of fallout from one comfortable compromise. Wow. We've covered incredible ground today.
We really have.
I mean, we decoded the legal and mnemonic function of an ancient border map. We saw the gritty reality of mountain warfare and the absolute socioeconomic necessity of water rights in the ancient Near East.
We watched a nomadic people blueprint an entire agrarian society through an 11-district administration.
Right. And then we unpacked the quiet, devastating danger of spiritual slippage.
It is a singular chapter that contains the entire spectrum of human faith, logistical brilliance, and tragic failure.
It really is. So as you step back into your week, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder on your own.
Okay.
The authors of this ancient text, they didn't edit out the failure to make themselves look better.
No, they left it right there in plain sight.
They forced the triumphant, giant-slaying faith of Caleb to sit right next to the tragic complacency at Jerusalem.
Side by side.
Yes. So sit with that uncomfortable reality for a minute. Profound progress and glaring compromise often share the exact same real estate in history.
That's so true.
And if we are honest, they share the exact same real estate in our own lives. So the question is, are you going to finish the conquest, or are you going to settle for a truce with your own walls?
A very necessary challenge to leave with.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking this deep dive with us. We love unpacking these texts and discovering these historical mechanisms with you.
It's been great.
Goodbye for now, and remember, God blesses all of you listening today. Until next time.